Loungefly backpack. I bought my Ray Force Effects lightsaber.
I bought a Haunted Mansion keychain.
You didn't really spend all that much there.
No, I didn't.
And I wound up scoring another Darth Vader statue from a different vendor as well. Tons of artists, and I love the way they did it too, because they mixed their artists in with their vendors.
Right, so that it's not just...
You didn't have a dedicated artist alley, so it was a nice mix. You could get in there. You weren't elbow to elbow with people. They arranged everything, plenty of room. They arranged everything with plenty, sufficiently wide aisles. Which that's the one thing I hate, especially when we went to New York Comic Con.
Right, that's probably our biggest
on people.
Yeah, our biggest gripe with New York.
You had a great mix of comic book vendors, pop culture vendors. We're looking at a toffee vendor there.
Yeah, there was something for everybody. It was a very nice mix. You had the homemade stuff. That's always nice. You have a couple of different authors that are there with books.
A lot of crafty stuff.
A lot of crafty things.
And that's one of the things that I've noticed recently at the conventions is you're getting a lot of the laser engraved, laser carved wood objects and stuff now.
Right.
Now, they had celebrities here too. So let's talk about the celebrities for a minute that they had. And I'm not talking about Fezzik there.
Sure.
So who was the highlight performer, highlight celebrity that they had?
So I think probably their top billed person was Corey Feldman.
Yeah.
From the Lost Boys, and
he was a draw though. He had a line.
He definitely had a line. Now, we didn't do any of the panels. We were going to do one or two of them,
right?
But we were just kind of tired, and we're like, all right, you know what? I think we're done. So
that seems to be a theme in this episode.
Yeah,
we're just old and tired now.
Tired. We needed a nap. So that would have been interesting to see.
The
how
Bob
many people...
Eubanks panel. That would have been awesome.
I think we had missed that because I think that was Saturday. Or the MASH one. I think that was Friday.
Yeah, because they had Jamie Farr and Loretta Swit there.
So that was kind of interesting because, all right, Corey Feldman, yeah, I could see he's done, the convention circuit before. But to see Bob Eubanks and Jamie Farr, and that was just kind of like,
yeah,
okay, that's kind of
not the typical celebrities you'd expect.
Right. And then a lot of the voice actors that unfortunately I don't know who any of them are.
Right. Well, and the one who was supposed to be there that I wanted to see and would have sat through his panel, Sam Witwer, wound up pulling out, unfortunately.
Right. But I also know him as not a voice actor. I know him as an actor.
Well, yeah, he's an actor.
Right. I'm saying, but you know him from the Star Wars game also.
Right.
So that would have been one,
and from
yes.
Clone Wars, he was Darth Maul.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. For people that are very into gaming and anime and things like that,
He plays Star Wars, The Old Republic, too,
Okay.
And he's on Twitch, too.
Okay. Are you guys like best buds? Did you message him to find out?
If we were, he would have showed up, right? I gotta drop a note and find out what happened.
Like, I hope everything's okay. I missed you.
When are you gonna be in town again,
man?
When
are you gonna be in town? But again, it's one of our favorite locations to go and see conventions at. But as you can see, some of the space is a little sparse. They weren't filled to the max with it, but again, enough of a selection of different things out there.
They definitely overbooked the hall, which they'll probably correct that next time.
Right.
But as far as I know, they're coming back again. So
yeah, they haven't updated their website with new dates yet.
Right.
So everything is still last year or this past May.
Right.
But plenty to see, depending on what your interests are. Again, we didn't see any of the panels, so I don't know how, was space limited? Was, how was the sound?
But we did go through the panel room because that's where the restrooms were.
That is true. They were
kind of
setting
thought
up.
That was odd that you would have done it where the restrooms are.
Yeah. But of course they had,
Because they were getting set up for karaoke.
Right. They were doing, and then I think they were going to be doing like a trivia thing.
Right.
They had a couple of different things. The one that was really interesting, I don't know if we got footage of it. The one, he was a puppeteer for Henson.
I think that was one of the last shots that we had.
Oh, okay, yeah, he was in this section. Oh, yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was the start of it with his artwork, but then he had various different Muppets that he has worked on.
Not at all creepy, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had all his awards and everything.
So for the people who are watching and not listening, it's worthwhile to tune in and actually see some of the details that we had.
So it was very, it was very well done. We don't normally go to see celebrities, so that's never this is gonna.
Especially when the lead draws Corey Feldman. We're not standing in line for Corey Feldman. I'm sorry. I would have stood in line for Jamie Farr and Loretta Swit because I love MASH.
Right, and they had no line. So you probably could have just gone over and, talked to them and said hi, and they probably would have been ecstatic to...
I was spent by them. We probably should have did the celebrities first.
We always should do that. Go and find them and work our way back.
Yeah.
Maybe next one.
So, do we have any conventions coming up in the near future?
I think September. I don't think there's anything in the summer because the last one would have been Fan Expo that we decided not to go to.
Right. We're not going to go to the Burst in Flames Horror Con at Expo Center, the outside one again, or
they're not doing it. That they only did. They'll be doing Monster Mania will be back at Oaks in November.
Okay.
So we'll be doing that one again.
That was a memorable one, the outside one. If COVID didn't kill you, we will.
That was hard. Last weekend in May. It won't be so hot.
I almost passed out. I'm over on the grass sitting under this tiny little umbrella trying not to die. And
at that one, they were actually selling umbrellas at least. Where
we had to buy them fast because they went quick.
Right, that is true. That is true.
So anyway, that was Contropolis, Philly. They don't have anything new. We're looking at the website now, actually.
Yeah, they haven't updated anything yet.
We're not looking at any new information there. So hopefully they come back and, if they do, I'm sure we'll be going.
Sure.
But we're going to take another break. We're going to come back and we're going to cry over a couple of shows that have said farewell to us. We'll be right back.
Insights into Teens, a podcast series exploring the issues and challenges of today's youth. Talking to real teens about real teen problems. Explore issues from braces to puberty, social anxiety to financial responsibility. Each week, we talk about the topics concerning today's youth. We look at how the issues affect teens, how to cope with these issues, and how parents, friends, and loved ones can help teens handle these challenges. Check out our video episodes on youtube.com/insightsintothings. Catch our audio versions on podcast.insightsintoteens.com or on the web at insightsintothings.com. Welcome back, everyone. So for our next segment, we're going to be talking about the different couple of our favorite shows that have wrapped up and had their series finales in the last few months, or since we've actually done a podcast before. So the first would be the long-running original Walking Dead. And if you didn't ever hear about it, you're obviously living under a rock because it's based on the comic book series written by Robert Kirkman. It's the gritty drama that portrays life in the months and years that follow a zombie apocalypse. You have a group of survivors that travel in search for safety and security and are constantly on the move and in search of a secure home, but the pressure each day to stay alive sends them, many of the group into the deepest depths of human cruelty, and they soon discover that the overwhelming overwhelming fear of the survivors can be more deadly than the zombies walking among them. Since the original came out, there have been now 6 spin-offs from this show. The original, obviously, was the one that lasted the longest with 11 seasons, and kind of rewrote the way zombie shows were done and looked at, really, when you kind of think about it. The popularity really boomed once Walking Dead came around. But they finally wrapped up their season, and we kind of thought, oh, this is the end. And then all of a sudden now you have these other spin-offs where some of the other spin-offs that they've had were totally different characters, were different places. You had the one where it's out in California, one that was also in the South where there were a couple of little tie-ins, but not really. But now after Walking Dead, they have the New York version that just came out. Dead City, which is with Negan and Maggie. But you have the Michonne show with...
Allegedly.
That one's also in the works. And then, of course, you have the one... I can't think.
Fear?
No, with... what's his name? Daryl, the Daryl show. That was supposed to be the Daryl and Carol show, but Carol backed out. So you have, so where you kind of thought things were just ending. Nope, we're giving you 3 other shows with characters from your beloved...
Daryl and his sister Carol and their other brother Daryl.
Right. So what did you think of the finale? Or the final season?
It was kind of... Well, the final season was just a mess. They were all over the place. And it was largely because of COVID. They didn't really know how to deal with shutting down, because a zombie show where you're getting eaten by other people doesn't really work in a pandemic, does it? True. They were very creative in how they went about doing some of the things, because you had the little shorts that came out for it that pushed it around. You had season 11A, and then you had season 11B, and then you had the interludes that were the Tales of the Walking Dead in between there.
Right.
You had the ridiculously long episodes. Then you had a 4-part series, and then they did the second half. It was so confusing as to where you were with things that it was really like 3 seasons in one for season 11.
Right, because I think they kind of felt like they had gotten gypped out of previous seasons because of COVID coming in and shutting things down, that they felt they had more story to tell. But yet I only read the comics up to a certain point. You did kind of read the anthologies or to kind of know where things were going, and the way the story ended on the show and where it ended in the comics was completely different. There were characters, you said, that survived,
and that was the problem. So by the time you got to this point in the comics, this show was completely off the rails. The main character, well, first of all, like, Daryl never even appears.
Right.
So the characters...
Everybody knows that part.
Right.
Yeah.
The characters that wind up at the end of the series are not the characters that are in the comic books. And the key characters that show up in the comic books are all dead or gone or missing or walkabout or whatever. They're just not there.
Right.
So what was interesting was seeing the parallels. So, like, for instance, Michonne in the comics turns out to be a lawyer, and she's a judge in this new community. Well, they had to kind of have somebody there to drive part of that story. Right. So they pick a different one. So they pick... who'd they pick for that?
Nikita. I can't think of what her...
Khrushchev?
I'm horrible with names.
Yeah.
That one.
That one, yeah.
The one in the picture right there.
So, right. So, and one of the key things that happens in the comics is the son of the governor, I guess, or whatever her... Right. He winds up killing... no spoilers here. The comic's been out a while. Killing, what's his face? Cowboy hat. Big gun. Sheriff. What's his name? Help me out here.
Michonne's husband.
Yes, him.
Rick.
Rick, right. So he winds up killing Rick, and that sends that whole story down. So they wind up doing something completely different here.
Okay.
Like not even close to it.
Right.
So it was an interesting take on it, but the comics didn't end, which is the weird thing. So you get the penultimate episode of the comics, and everything's, all hell's breaking loose, and it doesn't end. And then the final episode is a time hop.
Right.
That tries to sort of tell you where things are 20 years in the future or whatever.
Right, right.
And it was such a disappointing end to the series. This one here, at least the TV series, kind of tied up all the loose ends by the end.
Right, right.
But you still have that potential for a 20-year time hop down the line there, that you might pick things back up again.
Right.
So the contrast between the two is very different. They tried to stick to some of the story, but you just couldn't because of all the changes that happened up until this point.
Right.
It wasn't a MASH ending, and every time I think of like a series finale, I compare every series finale to MASH, right? Because that was like the ultimate ending to the ultimate show. And it wasn't that, but it wasn't terrible. I don't know. I don't have any other words to really describe. It was kind of just, oh, okay. That's how it ended. All right. Well, let's move on to the next show now. Because you knew it wasn't over.
Well, and
that was the worst part.
Kind of what I was thinking is that we knew we weren't completely saying goodbye to most of these characters because they've already said, oh, by the way, we have these 3 shows in
There
production.
were no tear-jerking goodbyes. There was no, we'll never see you again type thing. It was like, oh, okay, guys, I'll see you on the set next week.
Right.
So it was like, it was such an artificial end to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's be honest, 11 seasons, they dragged it out a little too far.
And that's the thing, is there were some seasons that didn't have to...
Like season 2. The Terminus season was terrible.
Or that didn't have to be so long. And again, this is before COVID even happened, where there were seasons that were just kind of like...
That one whole season where they were wandering in the woods. The only good thing that came out of that season was look at the flowers. Just look at the flowers. Now, if you get that reference, I commend you for sticking with the show, okay?
And that's the thing, is there were people who had started watching it and got to a certain point and they were just like, you know what?
Well, and I told you,
done.
when I binged watched the first 7 seasons,
right?
Had I watched season 2 week to week, I would have walked away from that bored out of my mind. The only thing that kept me with the show is that I had binged the entire season and was able to get it done in a couple days.
Right.
So, but anyway, that ended kind of in preparation for the new ones to come out, which Dead City is out. We saw first 2 episodes, right?
We only watched the first one
Just
so
the
far,
first one.
But there have been 2. We haven't watched the next one.
What's your opinion of the first episode?
I'm interested to see where it goes. But it's kind of there. Oh, look, there's more bad people. Oh, okay. Wow, there's more bad people, and they're really, really bad, and they're stuck on an island in New York. Ooh, let's go. And then you have, like, you even brought up the whole marshals and things that are, trying to keep
make sense.
Law and order, and it's like, well, what organization is there? How did that organization come to be? Because
and how do you invest somebody with authority in a society where you can kill people at will? Like there's no laws. The only thing that makes a law enforcement officer valid is people who follow the law.
Right.
And if you don't follow the law, you face the penalties. Well, if nobody follows the law and you're just killing people, like clearly they are. I mean, you literally have communities that are miles away from each other going to war with each other. The premise of a marshal doesn't make any sense. Right.
Now, I did read some brief thing because I didn't want to know spoilers, but there was somebody that had watched the whole season and basically said you have to give it a couple of episodes to finally get going.
Oh, it's the Disney philosophy now.
Yeah, pretty much.
You need to get 4 episodes into the 7-episode series before it gets interesting.
Right. So we'll see. We'll probably watch it just to.
What I think what annoyed me was there was always this curiosity of what could possibly bring Negan and Maggie together
Right.
to go on this adventure to New York City.
Right, because you
and we
knew.
called it months ago what it was, and the fact that we were so spot on for it was
Right.
just so disappointing.
Right, but still, we don't know why Negan was where he is. They still haven't really, like he kind of hinted, but nothing else. Like no more information
Right.
about what happened.
But that's not what interests me. How he got there.
Mm-hmm.
He got there probably because he got kicked out of 12 other communities because of
True.
who he is.
Yeah, well.
I would expect nothing less. But the fact that you have Maggie, and the only reason that Maggie went to find Negan was because the guy who runs this new gang in New York happened to be one of his followers.
Right.
That is such a weak driver, motivational driver for putting aside the fact that this man bashed your husband's brains out in front of you.
Right.
It makes no sense from a logical standpoint.
Yeah.
You could have literally taken anybody else and been just as effective. So my hopes aren't particularly high for this one, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
What's the next big disappointment?
Well, no, it wasn't a disappointment.
That it's over, I mean.
Oh, okay. Would be Star Trek Picard. That happened to be a favorite of ours. It aired for 3 seasons and wrapped up. So the series actually begins in 2399, which is 20 years after Jean-Luc Picard's last appearance in Star Trek Nemesis. And finds that the character is deeply affected by the death of Data in that film, as well as the destruction of the planet Romulus in the film Star Trek. He is retired from Starfleet and he is living on his family's vineyard. Picard is drawn into a new adventure when he is, let me move my mouse, visited by a synthetic daughter of Data, one of the several new synthetic beings that seem to be coming out now in that time period. So Picard fights for their right to exist and gives his life to save them. After his consciousness is transferred into a synthetic body for the 2nd season.
Conveniently.
We move to 2401, and now Picard and his companions are living new lives when an old adversary, Q, traps them in an alternate reality, and they must travel back to time to the 21st century to save the future of the galaxy. And then finally, the 3rd season, Picard learns that he has a son who is being hunted by a mysterious enemy, and then he reunites with the former crew of the USS Enterprise to protect his son and face the new invasion of the Borg.
Yep.
Yep, that's what happened.
That's pretty much it.
That's pretty much what happened.
No spoilers or anything though, but he has another son. It's not a clone from Nemesis that the Romulans made. And he helped the synths to define the fact that they could exist, kind of like he did with Data when the only thing with the series was they kind of recycled a lot of themes that they had previously.
Right.
There wasn't fresh themes there, but the way that they did it, it was a throw to the fans.
Well, definitely season 3 was definitely a throwback and a love letter to the fans because they knew it was ending. They knew they weren't doing a 4th season, so they knew they kind of had to tie up all of the loose ends. So you had where, season 2 and season 1, you had a couple of cameos by a couple of different things. By season 3, it was basically everybody and all these different cameos and people that you weren't even expecting to show up. That, we would watch and be like, oh my God, is that? And it was. And, so that was kind of neat to have that happen. And then
it was. The only problem is there was some of the situations in which these people showed up were completely unbelievable. It's like these people don't have a life. Like they all just sit around waiting for Picard to call them and come do something.
Okay, yeah, they're all retired for the most part.
I love the fact that they had Geordi running the ship museum, and he just conveniently put together the Enterprise that was destroyed in Star Trek Generations. Just conveniently happened to have that in his back pocket just right when they needed it.
Because you never know when you're going to need a ship.
Yeah, it was.
Suspend reality.
I felt like so much of this third season was forced down my throat. I ate it up.
You sure did.
Because I'm a Star Trek fan.
Yep.
I just felt force-fed so much of this and was just told to believe it. Yeah, that was really my take on it.
But who was your favorite character in the whole season?
My favorite character?
Mm-hmm. In the third season.
I don't know. Who was my favorite character?
Who wasn't from the original?
Who wasn't from the original?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think I really had a favorite.
Wasn't the captain?
Oh, yes, the captain of the what was the ship? Oh, yeah. That's what it was. Yeah, we're not going to mention that.
No.
But the captain of the other ship was my favorite just because he was so dry and sarcastic.
Yes.
And he was a prick, and he admits that he's a prick, which, just kind of endears you. And unfortunately, he doesn't make it out of everything as squeaky clean as everyone else does. But yeah, he was definitely the highlight.
He
of
definitely
the series.
added to the highlight of your watching.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, Picard seasons 1 through 3 now available on Paramount Plus.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take a quick break. Come back. We're running a little bit late here for the good, the bad, and the ugly segment. We'll be right back. I don't have the music queued up, unfortunately, but we'll be right back. So the good, we mentioned it earlier during our trip to Niagara.
Right.
Up to Niagara Falls. Mm-hmm. The one gem that we found in what was really a sad, rundown resort town that is on its bad luck, really, was a restaurant that we found on the other side of town from the resort we stayed in called The Bakery.
Yes.
The bakery itself, and I did a review. You can find my review up on Google. If you look it up on Google Maps. We have pictures and everything there. The bakery was the most unique eatery experience that I think we've had in a long time. It was genuine. It was authentic. You walked in there and you felt like you were in your mom's house from the 1950s and 60s.
Yes.
It was decorated beautifully, and the staff was attentive. When you had gotten up at one point in time to take some pictures because of how unique the place was, the chef came over.
Right.
And said, "Oh, well, if you're interested in learning more about it," and he took you on a tour of the place,
he
and
gave me a little
showed you
walk
the
through
place.
what was interesting. So it was originally a bakery, and the baker's house were next to each other. So that's what became this building. And he took me, to the hallway where the restrooms were, and you could see through the architecture, oh, this is where the house was, this is where the bakery was, and they kind of built the two buildings together, and you could see where the front porch had been, where they had built an enclosure, and then the one area had been a dance hall, had been a speakeasy at one point in time. There was a back entrance that you would come in to go in to dance and drink and stuff. So just got all these historic things from it. There was even a picture of the original house, and a picture of the original family was there too. So if you didn't know that it was there, you might not have even known the history of it.
Yeah.
So
it was such a genuine experience, and it was so enjoyable. Chef Joseph was so attentive. You had gone off to the restaurant at one point in time, and he was talking to Maddie and I, and he was saying, I don't live in town here. I commute in from Buffalo, and he was giving us,
suggestions
things to do
of other things. Yeah,
it was just so. It really made kind of a lukewarm trip really special to do that, and it was before we went to the Strong, by the way.
Right. Yeah.
So that was the other highlight of the trip itself, was the bakery in Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
Now for the ugly. So we had talked about this a lot. We had talked about the anticipation of it coming. We had talked about the accommodations and the experience. And we talked about the price. And we said, I'll be shocked. And I have to go back and probably get my quote. I'll be shocked if this lasts 18 months. And of course, we're talking about Disney's Galactic Star Cruiser, which is set for its final voyage in September. Hasn't been open 2 full years now?
Yeah, it's been 18 months, I believe.
18 months. And they're closing. Because they can't convince enough stupid people to pay the kind of money that they want you to pay. And really, it was ridiculous that they were charging the equivalent of a 7-day cruise for 2 nights.
Right.
To basically stay in a prison cell.
Right.
And that's what people who've stayed there described it as. No windows. You're sleeping in bunk beds, like prison-style bunk beds. Your day is regimented. You have to do certain things because of the way that they have their interaction.
Right.
And people just didn't find it enjoyable.
Right. And if you weren't the type of person that enjoyed role-playing or LARPing or anything to that, this wasn't for you because you're not going to get anything out of it. Now, people that were into that and liked dressing up and liked being interactive, they enjoyed the trip because it was immersive that way. But if you weren't that type of person, you were probably bored out of your mind because there wasn't anything else to do. Or you kind of felt weird hanging around other people that were doing these adventures and things like that. So
I just want to take a moment to tell Disney, I told you so. I took great pleasure in hearing about this because there was as much as I would have loved to go and experience it, there was no way in hell that I was going to give Disney that kind of money for any kind of experience. I don't care. I'm not giving Disney that much money for something like that for 2 days.
Right. Now, if it was a week's vacation with, on an actual cruise ship, yes, I will give you that kind of money.
Right.
For me to actually go someplace and see something and do. But yeah, that was the thing. We were very excited when they were first announcing it, and we said, okay, let's see what it comes out to be, how much it's going to be, how much, okay, where's our price point, what we're willing to spend. And then when the prices came out, it was just,
and then Disney slapped millions of people in the face with the fictitious price that they gave you. And it was just embarrassing.
Right.
I was embarrassed for Disney that they were asking people for that kind of money.
Yeah.
Second ugly thing, and this is one that's near and dear.
Well, this is really the bad. This is probably more than ugly.
Oh, right. This is the bad. Sorry. I went out of order.
Yeah, it's okay. It's fine. Okay. You can fix it in post.
Yeah, I'll fix it in post. I keep saying that. Anyway, we were robbed. Somebody stole money from us. And the people that stole money from us were the Philly Pops and the Kimmel Center, because we had bought tickets for a Star Wars concert event. And it was canceled at one point in time, allegedly.
It was supposed to be last summer.
Right.
And then due to whatever reasons, they had to postpone it until June of this year. So they said, hold on to your tickets.
They didn't offer any refunds.
Right. You could transfer your ticket to something else, but just hold on to your tickets. Everything will be fine. We'll see you June 2023.
Right. And then what happened?
Oh, it's postponed again, but we don't know when now or where it'll actually even be.
They were very communicative, the Philly Pops were, in telling us about this legal battle that they had with the Kimmel Center. And it was a terrible thing, and they kicked them out, and they're not giving them any concert hall time, and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't give a damn about any of that. All I know is I paid money for a concert that they didn't put on, and I don't care whose fault it is. The concert was scheduled for last week. I want my concert, or I want my money.
Right.
I don't want to wait. I don't want to hear it's postponed. I don't want to hear this guy did this. I don't want to hear that you're crying poor mouth. You took my money. You didn't give me a product. You stole my money.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the Philly Pops and it was the Kimmel Center that stole my money. And at this point in time, I'm waiting for the class action lawsuit because I know it's going to come out and I'll get $3 back from it and the lawyers will get the rest of the money.
Mm-hmm.
But at least based on principle, someone's going to pay something for this. And neither the Philly Pops, which we've gone to a number of their shows already, nor the Kimmel Center will ever get another dime from me because they stole my money. That's my public service announcement for today.
Do you feel better now?
A little bit.
Okay.
A little bit. It's a little hot in here now, so I'm getting a little hot under the collar.
I understand.
So, anyway, that was the afterthoughts I had. Be careful of who you give your money to. Don't trust anybody, etc., etc. Be paranoid like me.
Sure.
And bitter. Be bitter, too.
Be bitter.
That's the important part.
Nice.
I don't forgive. I don't forget either, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Anyway, that was all we had for the show today. Before we go, I do want to once again invite folks from our listening and viewing audience. If you don't already do so, please subscribe to our podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You're looking at me as though I have to say something.
No.
Okay. We're on Google, Stitcher. I would also ask you to take a few moments, give us a review. Give us a thumbs up or a star or whatever your podcast of choice uses for a rating system itself.
High five.
High fives work too.
Fist pump. I don't know.
That works. I don't know of any of them that do fist bumps, but that could be kind of awkward. Also, reach out to us. Give us your feedback. Tell us how we're doing. You can email us at comments@insightsintothings.com.
You can find us on Twitter at insights_things.
We do stream 5 days a week on Twitch at twitch.tv/insightsintothings.
You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/insightsintothingspodcast.
On Instagram, we're at Insights Into Things.
And you can go to our main website that has links to everything that we mentioned, which is www.insightsintothings.com.
That's it. Another one in the books.
Have a good week, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Insightful podcasts by informative hosts. Insights into Things, a podcast network. Welcome to Insights into Entertainment, a podcast series taking a deeper look into entertainment and media. Your hosts, Joseph and Michelle Whalen, a husband and wife team of pop culture fanatics, are exploring all things from music and movies to television and fandom.
Welcome to, that was kind of a sudden intro there, wasn't it?
Sure was.
Kind of cut that off a little abruptly. A little out of practice. Welcome to Insights into Entertainment. This is episode 149. Franklin, my dear, I don't give a Zolocon. I'm your host, Joseph Whalen, and my rested and relaxed co-host, Michelle Whalen.
Hi, everyone.
How are you doing today, dear?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am frustrated because my camera 3 is not working and I had to quickly replace it.
I understand.
But other than technical difficulties, I think I'm doing just
well,
fine.
that's good.
So been kind of on a hiatus for a while here.
Unintentional.
We just haven't had a lot to talk
Yeah,
about.
we keep kind of trying to, I guess, revamp how we want the show to be, what we want the show to be. And we just haven't really found that right mix of what we actually want to do. We don't want to just regurgitate, the news stories.
We want to add value.
Right.
We want to add value to the things that we talk
Right.
about.
We want to make it so that, also you can go back to a past podcast and re-listen to it again and find some entertainment value from it. So,
and I think the weekly cadence got to be too much of a grind. It got to the point where we were struggling to find things.
Right.
To include in the
So
show.
it was definitely we want it to be quality, not necessarily quantity. So if it's something where it's once a month, it's once a month. If it's twice a month, it's twice a month. If it's,
I think at minimum once a month, I think we can come up with
Probably.
enough things to talk about. Especially now that convention season's going on.
Yeah.
So today we're not really going to be talking about much in the way of news. We're going to be talking about a couple of things that we had attended. We will be talking in our first segment about the Disney 100 exhibition at the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia. Then the next day, actually, we went to ZoloCon. ZoloCon.
It's your most favorite convention, toy show to go to.
So we
Just so you can say that.
We have a little bit of footage from both of those. We'll take a look at those. And then I kind of threw something together real quick for our third segment here. I thought it would be worthwhile, since our last podcast, we talked about swapping the Bobs again and Bob Iger coming back. Thought it'd be kind of interesting to kind of see where things are and what challenges Iger might be facing right now, and just get your opinion on that and how things are going with Disney, since he's come back into the fold. But before we do that, though, I would like to invite our listening and viewing audience to subscribe to the podcast. You can get audio versions of this podcast listed as Insights into Entertainment, and you can get audio and video versions of all the network's podcasts listed as Insights into Things. You can find us pretty much anywhere you can get a podcast these days, Google, Apple, Spotify, and so forth. I would also invite you to write in, give us your feedback, tell us how we're doing, give us your suggestions on what you'd like us to talk about. You can email us at comments@insightsintothings.com. You can find us on Twitter at twitter.com/insights_things. Or you can get links to all that and more on our official website at www.insightsintothings.com. Shall we get into it?
Sure.
Here we go. So, Disney 100, Franklin Institute, Philadelphia. We were there
Last weekend.
last weekend, which was that opening
No,
weekend?
it was their second weekend.
Second weekend.
They
Second
opened
weekend.
the week before.
Right. So we were there early in the morning. We got there. We did the museum. We had a 12:30 time for the exhibit. And they have it in the same exhibit hall they have all the other ones. We've done the Star Wars one. We've done the Marvel one. What are your thoughts? Walk us through it.
So I have to say, if you are a fan of Disney, any aspect of Disney, being in this area, we're very fortunate because this is the only location within the United States that this is going to be. So there are people that are traveling from all over the country to come and see it because this is the only place. So that's kind of special to think that that we're kind of hosting it, even though we're not physically hosting it.
And let's be fair. Since they always do the D23 in California, the least they could do is give the East
right,
Coast something.
exactly. And that's when you think about all of the D23 events and everything else. It's usually always Florida or it's California. So to actually have it, in Philadelphia. So really for anybody that's within, a couple of hours, and you're a Disney fan, this is a look into, behind the scenes stuff that you don't normally get to see. Disney has been doing a lot of different behind the scenes shows on Disney Plus, like, Behind the Vault, or all these different shows. There's a couple of different ones.
Oh, you mean that show that you started watching again without me? That Disney show?
No, the other one that we already watched.
The other one that you're watching.
No, we already watched it.
Well, I thought you stopped at one point.
That's the attraction one. That's the other one.
I know there was one of them. There was one that you left me out of. I know that.
Well, anyway, there's various different shows that are on that Disney Plus is running, that they've been running, where they give you some of these behind the scene things from the archives. Look at stuff that, unless you work for the Disney Corporation, you've never seen. So this is such an opportunity to be able to see so many different things from so many different decades, going back 100 years, really, with the company, when you think about it, and different aspects of it. So you have the animated part of it, you have the music part of it, you have the attractions, so they break down the whole exhibit into, I think they had it in 10, what did they call it? What did they call it? Why can't I think of the word?
I don't know. What did they call it?
The different themed galleries, the different galleries that, and each gallery had a different theme to it. One was costuming, one was the individual characters, one, like I said, was the music, technology, even showing some of the audio animatronic body parts, how they would manipulate a character to make it move. Obviously, then the drawing aspect of it, and even going from the original way that the movies and cartoons were drawn to now the computer animated. How do they make Rapunzel's hair move a certain way? And so they have all these little videos going on.
Algorithms, like Google, right?
Exactly. So there's a lot to it and so much to really see. And unfortunately, there were so many people there that it's kind of hard to read everything and to look at everything. So fortunately, because we live so close by, it's definitely something that I want to get to again to be able to...
So how long is it actually?
It is actually in Philadelphia until August 27th. Okay. So you have quite a while, all of the summer, and all of the spring to get there.
This isn't the only location that they're going to be doing.
Right. So two other locations. So in April, it will actually open up in Munich. So it will be going simultaneously with
so they're probably showing
different things. And the one in Munich actually goes until September 3rd. So it goes a little bit beyond the Philadelphia one. And then the dates for London are actually fall of 2023. They actually don't even have their dates open yet. So I'm guessing maybe part of Munich's show and part of Philly's show might end up at the London show, I'm guessing.
So let's talk a little bit about what was on display. You mentioned there's multiple galleries. What were some of the galleries? How were they themed? What were some of the things that were there that kind of stuck out at you? The stuff that jumped.
Sure.
out.
So they start off. They go sort of in a linear fashion, starting with the very beginning of everything and how the Disney company started. And you have the Alice shorts. and then Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, and then obviously Mickey Mouse. So that's the progression. So they have some original drawings of all three of those with some videos playing as you're walking through that section, and then they kind of go through, and then it goes on to the whole, Mickey and everything that happened, how he kind of blew up, I guess, and how the company really kind of formed around that and everything. And then they had, the whole music section with the original songs for Snow White and because that was really their first musical. And so they had some of the original sheet music from that, and along with drawings and things like that. So you have that whole aspect. And then they go through the whole character development. How do they develop a character and basically take you through the different iterations of the character. So you have, here's their first sketch of a character, and then where does it go from there? And then to the maquettes, where here's our final model of a character. So now you can actually see it in a 3D form to be able to manipulate it and do other things with it.
So the exhibits themselves, there's a lot of static exhibits that are there. There's a lot of descriptive plaques to read, to give descriptions and stuff like that. But not all of it is static. There's some interactive exhibits that they have there. Can you talk a little bit about the interactive?
Well, the one interactive exhibit wasn't working, which I don't know if it hasn't been set up yet, if it was too early, or if it already broke down, which is kind of a shame if it's only been within the first week. They have a lot of different ones where you can listen to different presentations, and then they have other ones again where they had one where it was different colors, and you could pick different color schemes, and when you picked certain colors, it would show you which character was associated with that. I really didn't do much of the interactives. I don't know if you guys, because we weren't really walking around
We
together.
kind of blew through a good portion of that, because most of the interactive, so the way the exhibit itself is arranged is you have small rooms that are then connected by hallways. And a lot of the interactive listening things and stuff like that are on the walls in those walkways. So the problem that I ran into is it was very crowded. Right. So those walkways became bottlenecks.
Right.
So I kind of was rushing to get through those into a more open room. So we skipped a lot of that stuff. Most of the things that we went in and took a look at were just the static. That's the eye pop. Right. But what I did notice is there's a lot of subtlety in there. There's a like when you walk into the first open room, the room itself is roughly round with large displays in the middle. Well, in the middle of these large projection displays are original novels like Grimm's fairy tales and stuff like that, which were they weren't just like library books. These were like the original novels that inspired the stories that Disney did, which if you didn't get up there and see those, you would have never realized.
And that was one that I had missed. Whereas one of the things that I ended up seeing was a Winnie the Pooh that was from the live action movie, and then they had from the live action Beauty and the Beast movie, they had models of two of the characters from that, and that was kind of like back around a corner. So there were certain things where you had to kind of wait in line to see, because so many people were going to see, but if you went past it, you would have missed it because they were kind of back in the corner in a certain area.
So they did have a section there for one of the galleries was kind of dedicated to the parks and things that came out of the parks. Talk about that a little bit and what were some of the things that they had.
Yeah, so one of the things was they had one of the original ride vehicles from Peter Pan. So that was really cool to see. And really, that hasn't changed much over the years if you have gone to the park. Recently, it pretty much looks the same. Then one of the bobsleds from the Matterhorn was there as well. One of the other things that was really cool, I don't think you had it in your video, but I know I took a picture of it, was they had the original name tags from when the Disneyland first opened. And I guess when they had first done them, they had numbers on them, and they had the number 1, which was Walt Disney's original name tag, from the park. So that was really kind of interesting. And then they had some other models. So they had one of the dolls from It's a Small World. They had one of the characters from Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, one of the little devils there. One of the other things that was kind of cool was it was a model from... all you Disney fans are gonna yell at me because I'm.
Is it in the movie?
I don't think it was in the movie, but it was the Inner Space ride.
Oh.
But the little model, it's the Doom Buggy. It's but it was blue because on that ride it was the Omna. I can't think of the ride vehicle, but it looks like it's a little Doom Buggy, except it's blue and there are people in it.
Maddie did catch that.
I was like, oh look, there's my Doom. Oh, it's not the Doom Buggy. But I knew what it was because I knew they used that same ride vehicle in other rides back in the day.
So of everything that they had there, what was the biggest highlight for you of the entire thing?
Oh, I don't know.
What jumped out at you the most?
I don't know. I don't know if there was any
What was the most impressive thing?
What was the most impressive? Well, I guess the castle, but that wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah, that was just a model of the castle. I think Walt's name badge, his name tag was probably, from a sentimental,
totally The thing that jumped out at me the most was the model of the Nautilus. Like, it was the hero model that was 12 feet long.
Right.
It was monstrous.
Right.
That was just impressive to come around the corner and see that.
Yeah, like everything was like, wow, cool. Like if they would have had something from the Haunted Mansion, that probably would have been like my.
But they didn't, and that was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing is I don't know if other.
It's a shame because it was such a pet project of Walt's.
Right.
To do. He was so involved in doing that.
Like I would have liked to have seen more stuff with the audio animatronics.
Yeah.
And a little bit more of the history and the technology for that. But again, they had the different movies going on. In one of the movies, one of the clips they had was a behind the scenes of the Haunted Mansion. So they did have that.
Let's
so
run the video.
Sure,
you
sure.
Can kind of give us some commentary over the video and point out the things that catch your eye.
Sure. So this was a cute little pre-show, I guess, when you first, walked in.
And it was neatly done because it was when you're there, it's a hologram. It's a multi-screen 3-dimensional hologram.
Yeah. So of course, being able to see, Walt Disney like that was really kind of cool. Kind of creepy, but kind of cool all at the same time.
We believe in it all the way.
Of the different parks, different lands, and of course the Haunted Mansion right there. This was that book section that you were talking about. So this was talking about where they got the inspiration for their different movies and shorts and things like that. And this was, again, the innovation area, and the multiplane, a miniature version of the multiplane camera. Talking about, again, that the first animated musical and
that was
the
neat
original.
That they had the original scores there. For
Yeah. And the original, record album.
Yeah, like this is where you kind of start, you feel the history here.
Yeah. And then they had various different costumes from some of their live action. So this was from the Cruella movie.
So that's one of the interactive ones where you can listen to the...
Right, so they kind of had like a little history of Cruella.
What's this?
I don't know, some
science fiction.
Some science fiction-y thing, and some dice from a guy that wants to be a pilot, and oh look, it's chicken. No, it's pork.
Well, that's dinner.
And of course, BB-8, and these were screen-used props that were here.
Right.
So some, they had a nice little Star Wars section, so it was kind of cool, obviously.
It was little, though.
Yeah, it was kind of surprising that it was as small as it was. Here's those books again.
Those books again.
Yeah, and there were different interactive things with that
each of them had screens on there.
And then this was the music section. Talking very Disney
Characters we saw.
Mickey doll, because by the pattern to make your Pennsylvania to Philadelphia. Get the rest of that one starts in April and
The Guild Lottery and
8.
that level, and then a whole
It's goal twice, so it was just him. He was
D&D stuff, dice,
Right.
D&D stuff, dice,
Right.
and dice.
couple of people, I bet, and then you have a couple of people, I bet, and then you have